Here's my review of My Adventures with Superman episode 10 or the season 1 finale. I can't believe it already came so fast. But in this episode, it is Thanksgiving and Clark, Lois, and Jimmy are having a Thanksgiving dinner at Clark's house when a familiar face arrives. And that familiar face is the General, who we find out is Lois's dad, which is one of those things where I kind of had a feeling that this was coming because in Superman and Lois, Lois's dad is also a general, so I kind of had a feeling. But it is treated as a twist, but it is an interesting twist. I mean, if you maybe didn't really see it coming or you didn't really watch that other show, which probably you didn't, but I still think that added a lot of tension to this episode. I mean, obviously it shakes up everything. It shakes up the way Clark kind of sees Lois and kind of sees like the way his relationship can go, considering the person that he's been fighting is the father of the woman he loves. And it kind of just throws everything out of proportions. And at the beginning of the episode, there's a really cool dream sequence where Clark has this like fantasy where like his race is coming to like take over and kill Jimmy and Lois, and that's kind of like a really cool part of the show and of this episode. And one big reveal in this episode, or another one, is Clark finally sees the orb that Lois had where she saw the evil version of Superman. And obviously there's like kind of some bickering, I guess, between them where Clark is like, why did you hide this from me? And like, you know that Lois didn't want to show it to him because it might make him feel really scared. And it does. It does make him kind of worry about some things. And like when he finds out more about like his Kryptonian heritage, it does kind of scare him a little bit. And this episode is just filled with great tension and just great moments like this. Like where you know eventually, like, of course, like, you kind of know what's going to happen. Like, of course, like, Lois's dad isn't actually going to, like, hurt Superman. You know that everything is going to be all right. And that's just kind of the nature of a show like this. It's like, there's tension, but in the back of your head, you know it's going to be fine. And I think that this episode had some great moments between Clark and Jor-El, with Jor-El almost wanting, like, he wants to kind of take over Earth. And Clark sees it as his home because it is his home. Even if he's not a human being, he is still a human, if that makes sense. Just a human who happens to be an alien. And that's what this show does so good, is it captures the human side of Superman, which the movies really haven't done that well, I think. Like, I don't really think that there's been a good representation of Superman in quite a while, at least in live action. And towards the end of this episode, the General is about to kill Superman, like, but then obviously Lois stops her. And it is a very sweet moment because, I mean, Lois is crying. The acting is great. Her voice acting is great. Elisa Lee, I believe is her name. She did a great job. And it's a pretty sweet moment between Lois and her father. I thought that was a great moment. Also, at the end, there's a great reveal that Jimmy reveals that he got, like, super rich by selling his social media app for like $20 million. That was just a hilarious bit. But yeah, overall, I loved this season. I loved the show. I thought it was great, and I'm really looking forward to season 2. And I didn't really have any major complaints with this show. I just thought it was an overall great show.